Well, CBS's Lesley Stahl is facing backlash for the way she interviewed several freed Israeli hostages on 60 Minutes, where she appeared to make excuses for Hamas terrorists. Stahl opened the interview by accusing Israel of breaking the ceasefire. She did not mention anything about Hamas's repeated violations of its own terms.
Statistics tell the grim story of the October 7th, 2023 Hamas terrorist attack on Israel. 1,200 civilians and soldiers slaughtered that day. 251 taken hostage, men, women, and children. Since then, an estimated 50,000 Gazans have been killed. 12 days ago, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu resumed the bombing of Gaza, breaking a fragile ceasefire that was exceedingly popular with Israelis.
And it gets way worse. Watch as Lesley doubts American-Israeli Keith Siegel's experience of being denied food by his captors.
They were beating me and starving me.
Do you think they starved you, or they just didn't have food?
No, I think they starved me, and they would often eat in front of me and not offer me food.
Is she okay?
Harris, these individuals show up gaunt. They have been tortured in horrific fashion. Was it just that Hamas didn't have food? Lesley Stahl, what's in your drinking water?
I don't know, but didn't she notice that the hostage takers weren't emaciated?
No. Yeah.
I mean, what in the actual is going on with that woman? And as he's trying to very calmly educate her on the point that they ate in front of him as he was starving to death. I mean, can you imagine the pain, the physical pain of watching that and knowing your gut is killing you, you haven't eaten in weeks? I'm flabbergasted by it. And all I can think of is maybe she literally didn't study.
I don't think she did. Let's do a fact check for Lesley Stahl. She had 60 minutes, and at no point during the 60 minutes did she share the facts. But we brought them here, Jeremy, on the ceasefire. Yeah. Look at this Associated Press headline. And this was when Hamas was supposed to return the body of Shiri Bibas, the mother to Kafir and Ariel, the wife of Yarden. Netanyahu decries release of wrong body as a ceasefire violation. Hamas pledges to investigate. They eventually returned the actual body of Shiri Bibas. But no, we don't have time for that because we're Lesley Stahl.
That's exactly right. I mean, they said that Israel violated the ceasefire. It was Hamas that did that. I mean, just really glossed over some of the horrific acts. I mean, Hamas literally paraded the coffins of babies through the streets, and they were celebrating that. And then for you to have an opportunity to hear from the freed hostages give their firsthand account of what happened, you heard they were beaten daily. One gentleman had to watch horrific acts of sexual violence in front of him. We know that Yarden Bibas, his wife and his children were both killed at the hand of Hamas. Literally, the autopsy report showed that the kids were strangled to death. I mean, this was horrific evil. And the idea that you're going to try to spin this for your own agenda, I just think is totally despicable. But the good news is that I think everyday Americans watching this, you can't spin evil. I mean, people can hear the stories. And I think the good news is that people are saying, look, it's time for Hamas to be destroyed. Whatever we did the last 4 years with President Biden kind of trying to hamstring Israel and all this stuff, now we have President Trump in office who's saying Hamas will have hell to pay. We still have an American held hostage right now there, and we're seeing a rally around President Trump saying we're not going to be holding Israel's hands behind their back anymore, release them to destroy Hamas. There is not going to be peace in the Middle East until Hamas is gone.
You mentioned Yarden Bibas. He describes the way his children were killed, and that's not emphasizing the Hamas propaganda that suggested they were killed by an Israeli airstrike. They were not. Hear this straight from the mouth of the father of those two sweet little boys.
They were murdered in cold blood, bare hands. They used to tell me, doesn't matter. You get a new wife, get a new kids, better wife, better kids.
They said that to you?
Yeah, many times. Many times.
And we have a picture, Emily, there you have little 9-month-old Kafir Bibas and the audacity of Hamas to say you will get better kids and a better wife than those sweet little babies and that beautiful wife, Shiri.
Just an unspeakably heartbreaking and tragic situation, made all the more embarrassing, frankly, by Lesley Stahl's questions. And I think that what she represents, in my opinion, is ignorance and influence. And I'm not sure if I share that same generous view that you have, Jeremy, because I think a lot of people watching, unfortunately, will inherit and simply absorb that ignorance and influence that she demonstrated. I agree with you that her questions and her tone was absolutely despicable, and I agree with you she didn't do her research clearly, because there were so many accounts of those hostages that also were kept by families that were sort of made to be, essentially slave labor. There has been no account where the details have not fully enforced and educated us as to the atrocities and the horrors of the situation that those hostages and still American hostages are being subjected to. And final point, and I don't understand why we continue to have to keep making this, but every death over there, Gazan or not, is because of Hamas.
That's right.
And
That's
I wish 60 Minutes would get that point.
Well said. That's exactly right. Here's Yarden Beavis talking about the Trump administration and their work in the Israel war with Hamas. Listen to this.
I know he can help. I'm here because of Trump. I'm here only because of him. I think he's the only one who can stop this war again.
Yarden said he's only here because of Trump, and then he emphasized that he wants Trump to end the war, which has been, Trump has said repeatedly, he hates seeing the human atrocity, the suffering, the deaths, and he wants them to end.
As a journalist, you always look for one side and the other side. And this is one of those stories that really has only one side. Do you know what I mean? Yes. It was atrocious. It's chilling. I'm sitting here listening to you describe what happened in the wake of this terrible atrocity, the way these people were treated when they were confined. And I have chills going up my spine, and everybody else should too. You should trust your gut as a journalist to tell the story in a truthful way.
There's one side. You can be on the side of Hamas terrorists or the freedom-loving beacon of democracy in the Middle East. That'd be the state of Israel. Lesley.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.